CEO, wanna change your life? Come see me, yo. I'ma teach you how to build up wealth for your family, not just for yourself. I'm a bestseller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a goal builder that can teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all psychology black-owned firm, but we ain't all black.
Hey, family. How you guys doing tonight? It's your girl, Constance Carter. I'm just trying to get adjusted a little bit. And I wanted to come on here and talk to you about some real serious stuff. I just wanted to have a dialogue with you. You know, this is this is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. So I always love to talk to you guys and just kind of get your opinion. Tonight's going to be a little bit different, though, because I want to actually talk to you guys live. So I want to see, you know, sometimes you guys will say, hey, can we call in? Can we jump on? Can we jump on? So tonight I want you to actually jump on. I want you to come on. If you're interested in having a dialogue and talking, you know, live on camera with me, I would love for you to do that. You can text. Let me give you the number to text. You could text this number 209-362-4628 if you want to get on live with me and have a discussion around what's going on in America and why, you know, why we feel like it's open season on men, women, boys, and girls. I really want to have an intellectual dialogue with some very intelligent people. So if you come on here, I want to tell you right now, you cannot have any racist remarks. Okay. So any racist remarks, they are not allowed. They are not welcome here. So we don't want you to say anything that's, you know, a racial slur towards anybody. The other thing is we don't want you to say anything that's anti-Semitic and profanity. Make sure that there's no profanity, but if you could have an intellectual dialogue with me about what's going on in the state of Black people in America, I would love to do that. Just know, please know that we're going to have to, we're going to have to keep it tame and we're going to have to keep it not light at all, but we're going to have to keep it intellectual. Okay. So as you're coming in, I see you guys, all of you guys are on here. You guys was already checking in before I came live. I see everybody got stuff to say. There are hella comments in here. And the reason why I know that there are hella comments is because everything that's going on right now personally affects you. It personally affects me. Right. The reason why there's so much interest in this topic is because it personally affects us. And we're scared for our lives. We really are. But, you know, here's the thing. It's nothing new. There's nothing new that's happening right now that ain't been happening to us, about us, for us, all of that stuff. And so the real question is, how do we protect ourselves? But as you let yourself in, I want to welcome you guys tonight. Let's have some real dialogue. But as you come in, go ahead and put where you're from in the chat box, because I know we have people from all over the world that tune in here. And I love when you talk to me. So I know we have people that are in Chicago and North Carolina. I'm in California. You know, you might be chiming in from the DMV. You may be from Africa. We have people that tune in from Africa or Asia or Australia, France. So put in the chat, in the comments where you're from, because we want to know. I mean, you know, this for you, for melanated people just like you. And that's the reason why this channel is so important. This affects everyone in the diaspora, right? This affects each and every one of us. I don't care if you have one drop. If you look remotely close to being African American, you are affected. Last week I had this young brother, or this young man on here, and his son was brutally beaten by the police. And he's half Black and half white, but to those police officers, he was full Black. And this is what he ended up looking like after his altercation with the police. Understand? For what they said was speeding. For what they said is speeding, but they still have no evidence. And it's so funny because today, or not today, it's not funny, but yesterday they killed this young lady. And this was a record lightning speed with how they released those body cams. For this particular boy, it took these people 90 days to release his body cam. 90 days. They diddled and dabbled and did everything they could to delay this thing. But for this young lady who got shot yesterday, because it appeared that she was the aggressor, I don't even think they waited 24 hours before they let release the body cam. We know this. So I want to talk back to you and I want to talk black to you. But right now, I'm going to bring my boy, my producer, and also a fellow intellect, Mr. Charles Johnson, on because we want to just have some dialogue with you and get your opinions. And I know that you guys are putting stuff in the feed in the comments, but this really concerns us. And we just want to kind of have a conversation on not just what's going on, Charles, but really what can we do? What can we do differently? Because it's real out here. And I got 3 boys. You have sons.
Yeah.
It's scary. My 16-year-old is now driving. I am deathly afraid. I'm deathly afraid. So what's going on out here?
Man, it's crazy actually. Just all the stuff that's going on, all that we're dealing with. It's interesting that this situation happened the day that the George Floyd decision was coming out. So it's just basically saying that, we, in my opinion, at least, we feel like we're getting these victories sometimes with these decisions coming out and they're in the favor of Black people. However, that doesn't stop the atrocities that are continuing to happen on an ongoing basis. And I really feel like there just needs to be a complete overhaul of how we do police training and just police in general.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I watched the shooting of the young lady several times, and too much force in that particular situation. Just too much going on, right? Like that was the point where you actually probably wanted to use your taser instead of using your gun. But literally, he got out the car. Within 10 to 15 seconds, he's shooting.
Yeah.
So,
not knowing what's going on,
Right.
not trying to diffuse the situation, not trying to de-escalate the situation. He get out the car and start busting immediately.
Yeah. And, the rationale and probably why they put out the video so quickly is because I believe the chief of police said that, don't quote me, but he said something to the effect of, he believes that his officer acted in good faith, trying to prevent somebody else from being killed. Mm-hmm. What he didn't know was that the young lady who had the knife was the young lady who actually called the police in the first place because people were at her house to jump her. Mm-hmm. So it's just a whole lot going on. Was it self-defense? Is it self-defense? All of that really doesn't matter at this point. Really, I feel like the situation should have been handled very, very differently. But because, again, we're African-American in this country, we always get treated subparly, right? Mm-hmm. And everything happens to us just at a very, very different standard. There was no opportunity for negotiation. You're facing her back. She's not looking at you. She can't see you. She could probably barely even hear you, especially in the intense moments. So with all that being said, it's just, there's really no excuses for any of it. No justifications for any of it. And we have to stop.
Darrell said it was 22 seconds from the time he pulled up to the time he shot that baby. And I seen the video, the aftermath video when the police were saying Blue Lives Matter. What do you think about that?
That's always the case, right? That's always the excuse.
That shows you their mentality.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not mad at them for wanting to go home at the end of the day, but what I am mad about is the fact that you figure that the way that you do that with African Americans is different from the way that you do that with white people. You don't have that same level of fear or aggression when it comes to white people. You don't have that same, and the consequences just aren't the same. They're not, Mm-hmm. Every time they pull up with somebody's losing their lives or has a higher potential, I'll say, of losing their life, which is crazy.
This Googly Goo said, "Sir, you sound silly suggesting that the police need an overhaul. So police need to be taught how to not kill Black people. Stop it." What do you say to that?
Well, when I say overhaul, I mean it needs to be shut down and redone. Something else needs to be put in its place. That's an overhaul, right? Mm-hmm. When you take something completely out of the way that it's currently existing and put something else in its place. That's how you overhaul something. I don't. If it sounds silly, it sounds silly. We call it defunding the police nowadays, if that's what we want to call it, or we call it getting rid of the police, however you want to say it. But I would tell him to, come up with a better suggestion or come up with a better word that he likes.
Right. See, the problem is it's not, it's the system by which they protect. So there was when I forget who that was. It was Michael Brown when they said the system can't is not designed to protect those that it wasn't intended for, right? So
Agreed.
we weren't the intended people. The police was birthed out of slave patrols. It was birthed out of rounding us up, enslaving us, imprisoning us, and they've continued the cycle to this day.
Hmm.
And so when people now, I'm seeing a lot of people saying, "Stop calling the police! Stop calling the police! Stop calling the police!" What do we do?
I don't think it's just the police. I think they're a small fraction of everything that's going on. And I've said this before to some of my friends, and I say it here. You have 500 years of systematic oppression.
Hmm.
That's not going to change overnight.
Right.
And that's not going to change with just the defunding or getting rid of the police. It's got a lot. We have a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do.
Right.
And, as unfortunate as it may sound, it seems like the bubble is getting so close to busting on this thing, right? And something climatic is getting ready to happen. That's what I feel in my spirit, just because we're at that boiling point, and it seems like we're both kind of at that boiling point. And so, unfortunately, it may come to that type of consequence.
Right.
But we're at a place now where just the toleration of it is slim to none.
Yeah.
And
You know,
rightfully
Lanisha said, "I seen the police not kill people before."
so. Agreed.
Go figure.
Agreed.
So they know how to not kill people when the people look like them, but when the people look like us, it's like we had no choice. And the funny thing is, when you have people who don't look like us, they immediately go to justify why it was okay to kill those folks. But I heard somebody said that, and I think it was a white person that said it's not going to stop until they start killing white kids and white men. When they start killing them, that's when we're going to see a change. What do you think about that?
I would agree with that. I mean, so I look at it from a point of when we look at how things happen during the civil rights movement, by and large, a lot of the things that happened started to shift when you started to see the white people out there protesting, and the white people also getting their head beat in while they were out here protesting with these black people. So it's just not enough to see it. Sometimes it's got to hit a little bit closer to home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then what then happens, like, for us? Like, because I know that you said, when white folks start getting involved, we start seeing real change. I know there's so many ideas out there, but how can we, at least on this small scale, until we kind of grow into a place where either we have some type of unity within our community or organization within our community, what can be done on this granular level?
Well, that's the thing for me. It's about building and becoming more united within ourselves, and not having to rely on outside entities to police us or do anything for us, financially or otherwise. I was having this conversation with Faith in the Valley, and I was telling them that one of the things that we need to learn how to do within our own organizations is know how to first figure out, what is our collective one or two things that we agree upon that we can start striving for collectively. And then, operating in whatever silo that you operate in, let's figure it out from there. But we all should be in agreement that this is no longer tolerable. It never was tolerable. And this needs to change. And so everybody has to be proactive in that fight. Everybody's not a boots on the ground. Everybody's not a gun toting person, but there's something that you can do to help this movement. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's making sandwiches. Maybe it's, being a collector of the movement, be it music or be it art, whatever else the case may be. But we need to come together collectively and start to figure this thing out for real. Because talking about it and marching about it, to me, it doesn't do a whole lot. At some point we need some real action, some real actionable items. We need to make some real decisions, opt out or, do something. But to be a part of this system and to think that the things that we have done historically, which have never changed anything, are going to change something today is kind of,
Yeah. I like what you said, and I echo that too. And Trina also said it last week from Faith in the Valley. Like, what people got to understand with Black people is we like to pit people against each other. We like to say, if you're not operating in this capacity, then you need to sit down. If we see Al Sharpton up there, we mad at Al Sharpton. If we see this person over here doing this, we mad at this person. And so we are so busy divisive and fighting one another that we can't make any real progress. And what you have to understand is Everybody's job is important in the movement.
Yeah.
Y'all, everybody is not going to be the spokesperson, right? Understand your strength, understand your lane, find it, get in it, and operate in it. But everybody ain't gonna be the mouthpiece. Everybody's not gonna be the gun toter. Everybody's not gonna be the person that's putting the policies together. But what are you strong at? And
Yeah.
then you support the folks in wherever capacity they are. We got to start operating like a business. We got to start operating like a body where we're all one member of this body and we all have our own unique functions, but we're operating in unity to make something happen. But we like to tear other people down. We like to tear those that are in front. I don't care about being in front. I was just telling somebody today, like I was in Jack and Jill, right? Some of you Black people know what Jack and Jill is. It's like, an organization that's been out since the early 50s or early 40s. And all the women in Jack and Jill were, leadership women. They were used to taking ownership of everything. We were having an event and it was like we were just setting up the tables or something like that. And everybody wanted to give direction on how to set up these goddamn tables. No, they need to be this way. They need to be this way. And I'm like, just let me know when y'all ready to set up the tables. I will just be the mover of the tables. Everybody can't be the leader. Somebody got to follow up in this mug. You know what I mean? And so we got to understand that those people who are in those positions that have influence, allow them to have influence. Don't sit back and talk about them and do nothing. What can you do? What are you strong at to where you can push forward the movement? Because at the end of the day, the reason why they're able to infiltrate us the way they are is because we are such a broken down people. We've been broken down since the beginning of time. They did this. They took our language. They took everything that we had. They dumbed us down. They brainwashed us. And then now they worked us for several hundred years. Now they free us. They give us nothing after working, and they take all the riches and the wealth. Now we have to figure it out. And we've done such a great job. Looking at, financially where we are comparatively speaking in terms of where we stand with everybody else being what was taken from us. Oh my God, we're doing great as Black people. We got to celebrate that. When you look at any statistic, everything that's bad, we're on the top. Everything that's good, we're on the bottom. Okay, I see that. However, look at how great that we are doing considering what has been done and what's continuing to be done with us. And let's celebrate that. Let's capitalize on that. Let's stand on that. And then let's try to unite and move forward. But I'm so sick and goddamn tired of everybody tearing one another down who do different things in the movement when everybody needs to own their own stuff. And that's what I love about the Nation of Islam, right? Is because they're so well organized. Where everybody is. They know how to have a leader. They know how to listen to their leader. They know how to respond to their leader. They know how to move in sync. We need to do that on a larger scale, Charles.
I agree. And I think what you said is important, right? Like at the end of the day, our biggest demise has been our inability to really galvanize ourselves collectively and push forward. And you look at it even from a slave perspective, right? For the most part, there were thousands of slaves on these ships and maybe a handful of Spaniards or whatever on the ship. And there was only a few times that the Africans decided, hey, look, we outnumber them. We're going to figure this thing out. Mm-hmm. And when they did do that, it worked out pretty well for them. Right. So by and large, that's the same situation today. Not much has changed, right? Mm-hmm. Like if we really wanted to take this system over or do some things, we have the numbers to do it. Mm-hmm. They like to say that we either are the minority. We're not. We're not by a long stretch, right? We are not the minority. Right. And in most cities and most states, we are not the minority. Mm-hmm. The way we function, though, the way we operate is definitely from a minority perspective.
Right.
We don't have the power. We need the leg up. We need all these different things. We don't need anything. Everything that we need in terms of a people, we have it. We have engineers, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have construction workers, we have accountants, we have graphic designers, we have singers, we have writers, we have authors. There's nothing that we to the point where we can't create it ourselves. We built this infrastructure for them. Mm-hmm. So why do we need them for anything? Right? That's kind of got to be the mindset.
Yeah.
We need to start, hey, look, a black doctor, go to visit the black doctor. Let the black doctor
Yeah.
then go shop at the black grocery store. Go get your groceries or your produce from the black farmer. All of
Right.
these different things are the things we need to be able to take advantage of at this point. That's how we
Mm-hmm.
start to build a nation, right? And
Right.
a lot of different people have had that concept, but reality is that now is the time to execute, and there's no better time. We talked to Black Mama Tees the other day, and how she's buying up Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
go and buy up parts of Philly and all of these other different places. Now is our
Yep.
opportunity to really do what we need to do. I keep hearing this
Mm-hmm.
thing about getting on code. I don't, and that's part of my problem is that there's not one code, right? We assume that everybody knows one code. What
What's
is
the
the code?
code?
And that's part of the problem. We're not on the same page. You got one
Yeah.
code, I got another code, somebody else has another code, and I'm not dismissing the code at all. What I'm saying is it has to be collectively known, right? Everybody
Yeah.
has to have the same information and move in the same direction with the same agenda. If we don't start to do that, that's how the fragmentation happens. That's how we get pitted here and pitted there and pitted here and pitted here. Even if you look at the situation with Brother Fred Hampton, that's how we get people to infiltrate our own people to infiltrate our systems on some
Yeah.
dumb stuff, and then shell us out. So
Yeah.
everybody got to know the code. Everybody
Right.
has to know the code and operate by the
What's the
code.
code?
We don't have to
What's the
agree
code,
to
Martin?
the
What's the code? What's the code? We need to know. Let us black people know the code. They have worked so hard. So you guys, y'all black people that are watching this, you have to understand that you are mighty, mighty powerful people, because they have worked extremely hard since the beginning of our encounter with trying to destroy us. They have. They have done everything that they can to try to destroy us. From the breakdown and the brainwashing and beating everything into us. And then when we came out of slavery into Reconstruction and we started building our own towns and we started thriving and we started progressing, they bombed those towns. They burned them down and they hanged us because they wanted to make an example. They want to keep us afraid, keep us in fear, and keep us stifled, right? Then you start getting unified again. You have, you do have your movements. You have your Martin, your Malcolm. You have people that are unifying behind a cause. And what Martin Luther King realized is that cause, in order to change things, it has to be economics. It has to be economics, right? But what did J. Edgar Hoover say the biggest threat to America in 1955 was? The number one threat, he said, to America was Black unity, or as he put it, Negro unity. Mm-hmm. They are so afraid of our power that they will do anything to destroy it. So think about this, guys. Instead of us fighting one another and talking about, the Al Sharptons and Jesse Jackson, all that crap, figure out what you're going to do. Because they are so afraid of us uniting because they're afraid of what we're going to do to them. Listen, we ain't thinking about them. We don't want revenge. Only thing that we want to do is build. Yeah. And what happened with Black Wall Street, how it was destroyed. How was it destroyed? Eventually, Black Wall Street was destroyed, not because of the fires and the bombs, because they rebuilt that. Black Wall Street was eventually destroyed was because of what? Integration. Because we figured that we no longer had to do business with one another. Now we can do business with the people that we want to do business with, right? And that's on us. That's part of that self-hatred. So just like you said, to your point, Charles, we got to get back to a point where we're looking inward like other communities do. You go to the Arab community, they are looking inward first. There's nothing wrong with that. You could do business with everybody else, but why don't you look to your people first? You go to the Asian community, you go to Chinatown. They are doing business with one another first. Why are we doing the same thing? I'm from San Jose, California, right? Now San Jose has a less than 1%, I think, of Black population. But when I was there, I think we had, 6%. It wasn't a whole lot of us, but it was enough of us, right, to make a little bit of an impact. But now it's nothing because it's one of the most expensive places to live in the country. But I used to get my hair done up until last year in San Jose still. And you can go down, I forget what street that is. When I was going to the freeway, you see every other culture having some kind of strip mall, shopping center. You see the Asians, you see the Hispanics, you see a Jewish community center, you see Vietnamese, you see everybody. There is no Black presence. I was telling the young lady last week when we talked to the $5 million trucking company, when we would have events out there for Black people, for Black government contracts, guess what? Black people wouldn't show up. This would the title of the event would say, these are government contracts for Black people. I would go into these events. It'd be 100 people up in them events, and the only Black people in there will be me and the organizers, and everybody else is every other race. So we have to start taking accountability and responsibility. We have to start taking advantage of opportunities, because the time is now. If there's no other time, is right now for us to get in our minds. Like I always say, and I'll let you talk, I think President Trump was the best thing that happened to Black people, and I don't care what you said. And it's not because I agree with his politics, because I think he was the lousiest president ever. He was a buffoon. He was dumb as hell. But what he did with his dumbness is he showed us their hands. And President Trump's hands ain't no different than George Bush's hands, ain't no different from Clinton's hands, and really ain't no different from Obama's hands, right? They're all politicians. And at the end of the day, they all have the same agenda. What President Trump did for Black people is he showed us and he exposed their agenda. And if it should have done anything, what it should have done is it should have woke us up. The scale should have fallen off of our eyes at that moment, and we should have mobilized. Then we realized, oh shit, I can't depend on the government, because they really trying to keep me dependent to keep me down. Shit, I got to do something different.
And here's the truth, right? Like what really happened in that moment with Trump is that we really saw how much white hate still exists.
Man.
Right? Like we really got a chance to see these 1%ers, these 3%ers, these QAnons, all of these different fractions that have been kind of laying dormant for a while and just been building up their, just kind of like how the Klan did, just been building up. And they got to a place where when he got out of office, they showed their tail. Man. Right? And, we sat around and we were like, look at these white people do all this craziness, right? But not once did we say, oh, man, look at these white people doing all this craziness.
Organizing.
We need to get it together, because they're organized. And here's the thing. They're not only organized, they're communicating in all these different little micro platforms that are out there. These C8s and all these other little different like Reddit type platforms. They got their own little communication portal. They got their own they have everything. They got their own spokespersons and commentators, and almost like their own news channel, right? They got people that specifically deal with this stuff. And we're not in a position to deal with that when the time comes, because the time is coming. And you don't necessarily know what their agenda is. And we kind of have to be like that. Like, we need our own stuff. We need our own platform. That's why I appreciate Dr. Boris Watkins and what he's doing here, because we need our own spaces to have our own real conversations. It doesn't matter what the government knows. That we're trying to protect ourselves. That we're trying to unify and we're trying to build something for ourselves, because we don't trust you. And because you're allowing everybody else to do it, okay, we're going to do it too. Because everybody's doing this. The only people that are not consistent with it are African Americans, and it's and that's a problem. That's a real big problem. We need to, like they say, get on code, right? if there's going to be a get on code, that needs to be a part of the code. We can't just talk it. We actually got to live it. How many of us have guns in our homes, ready to defend our home when the time comes? We can't say that everybody's ready, and then we can't say we even know who the neighbor is 2, 3, 4, 5 doors down to help them if they need it. But guess what? If they go to that house, what's the next house they're coming to? Yours. So, these are all the things that we got to talk about, that we got to deal with, that we got to look at and say, hey, look, now is the time. There was a comment earlier about who's protecting us in this moment. I'm a proponent for men stepping up. For men stepping up and protecting our sisters, protecting our families, not just yours, but the ones next to you as well. And we all have as men, we got to be on code with that. Right? Like, there should not be a time at all, period, where you see a woman or a child or anything that looks like that stranded or without help or in need of anything. It shouldn't happen. Not at this time. Not in this moment. It shouldn't happen. There's too many of us. There's too many men that can do something. And I tell you, like myself personally, I coach basketball, one, because my son loves it, but because also I know that that's a gateway for other kids to see what black men can do, right?
Right.
There's another black man in their lives that's pouring into them, not just on the basketball and what you can do on the court, but what you can do outside of the court. I mentor for the same exact reason. And I used to tell my friends, because they used to ask me, like, man, you do a lot in the community. I said, I do a lot in the community because the more kids I help in the community, the less kids I have to worry about shooting my son.
Hello. Oh, that's a very selfish reason, but it's a very poignant reason.
Yeah, it's selfish and it's real, right?
Yeah,
the more people I get to get on board with what's a better way to do things, the less I have to worry about the negative impacts of it. And we have to deal with that kind of stuff. We want to get, and if you even if that's your reason, be selfish, but say, hey, look, the more people I get that are African American that look like me, the more people I quote unquote get on code, the less people I got to worry about in the long run when it's time for other things to happen. I don't have to worry about if this person has my back or if he doesn't have my back. We all have the same position, so we're good. We fighting the same fight.
Right. And that's the thing that we got to understand. So I want to know, like, okay, you talked about the guns, and there's many of us who cannot get guns because of prior convictions, but you can still get a shotgun. You could go to like the Walmart and get a shotgun, so you can protect yourself, right? So you just can't get a handgun. Is that correct?
I believe that's the rule, but don't quote me on it.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though, right? If you can't get a gun, your auntie, your niece, your nephew, your mother-in-law, your grandmother, your brother, they can get a gun, and they can rest that gun in your house just in case you need it.
Yeah,
right? Like
they could just leave it over there just for safekeeping.
Yeah, there's no reason why it can't be there. I mean, the reality is that you have to be in a position to protect you and your family.
Yeah.
And somebody put strange fruit. I strongly feel like we're not too far from that.
It's never stopped, and this is what people have to realize too, is because I've been looking at police brutality, and I've been very well what's going on in our community for so long that when stuff happens now, I try to pull away from it. I don't even like to watch it right now, Charles, because it's just so deep in my soul, in my spirit. It bothers me so much. So I try not to get attached to it, but I do see how, everybody's up in arms about what happened to George Floyd. That's good. But this shit's been going on for a long, this is not new. They used to send out postcards of our men hanging from trees because they attempted to vote. If you ever heard the story of Mary Turner, and Google Mary Turner, what happened to Mary Turner? She spoke out because her husband, they lynched her husband. So she spoke out. She was 8 months pregnant, I believe. And then they hung her, and then they cut the baby out, and they stomped the baby. The baby fell out. The baby's crying. They stomped the baby. They shoot her. They set her on fire by her feet. This happened to a black woman.
I was trying to my back because I was trying to find this book I have. It's a book called Without Sanctuary. And
it has all the pictures.
Yeah, and it documents a lot of the lynchings that have happened. And I've shown my kids this because I wanted them to see the reality of where we live. Because our kids have a different mindset than we do, right? Because they're growing up more in an era where segregation is integration is more quote unquote appropriate. The reality is that the mindset of most hasn't changed, though, right? People are still teaching their kids the same things. We're still seeing the same things on the TV screen. We're still hearing it on the radio and everything else. So not a lot has changed. Yeah. So with that being said, like you just have to be aware of what has happened. So you don't go back to it.
Yeah. And to your point, though, about the protection. Well, going back to about this not being new, because this has been going on since the beginning of time, right? Since the beginning of our arrival on Plymouth Rock, right? We have been brutalized since that time. So this is not new. So I appreciate our white counterparts for recognizing it right now in 2020, 2021, 2019. Thank you guys for recognizing it. But it's been going on. My father fit the description, was pulled over. Uncles. People were beat by police. My cousin was 14 years old when he was beat up by the police, by the San Jose Police Department. 14 years old, brutally beat. They ended up firing the two police officers, and his mother could have pressed charges and got a bunch of money, but she was trying to be on a Jesus trip and was like, God is going to get revenge or whatever. However, one of the cops committed suicide, and they were both fired. But this has been going on. And I know for a lot of us out there, we've had people who have been victimized by the police. The reason why F the Police was a song is because of police brutality has been going on in our communities. The reason why the Black Panthers formed is because police brutality was going on in our communities. This ain't nothing new. We've been brutalized. The police have been in place because of slave patrols. So this is nothing new. So thank you, white people, seriously, because without you, we can't make progress in this country, seriously. However, we need to know, and this goes back far beyond, and this is gonna, this needs to have a further reach than what it has right now. Don't stop here.
And I'm tired of hearing the phrase, you know, we need to pray this thing away. We've been praying for a long time now, and nothing has changed. We need to stop praying about it and actually start doing some things and acting on it.
Yeah.
You know, that's my stance on that. I'm all for, I love God, but I know faith without works is dead.
Hello.
So what are we working towards?
Hello.
And I got to steal this from somebody else, but you know, when I go into these platforms and these forums and all these people are talking, my question is, well, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
You know, what are we doing?
Time out for talking, because we keep talking about, you know, we shouldn't be marching. We don't need to be doing this. We don't do it. Okay, so what's the plan, y'all? Real ish. Yeah. What's the plan? Because I'm tired of talking too, but I'm tired of hearing y'all say stop talking. What's the plan?
And new ideas and new tactics, that works for subsets. But, you know, there's a lot of people in here right now, and everybody lives in their own little communities. How many of you guys are galvanized with your community? How many of you know what's going on in your community? Know who to talk to in your community? Know who to build with in community? Know who not to build with in your community? Like, all of that stuff is important, because now is the time to start building. And if you don't, it don't have to be called nothing. It don't have to have any type of name. But if you start building some type of organization where, you know, hey, if I touch down in Georgia, or if I touch down in Chicago, or wherever the case may be, I know who to connect with, right? I know who to say, okay, I know these people got my back. I know, you know how we used to have, the Green Book?
Yeah.
You know, even something to that effect. Like, who are the people that are B1 and all of these other areas? What are those organizations looking like? Mm-hmm. Where's the unification at? Because right. I need to know, because I need to know where to go, where not to go. I need to know that I got some people who have my back when I touch down in these different cities, and it has to be like that everywhere you go. There's people who call me from all over the place whenever they get ready to come to California. Okay, bet. Well, I'll see you when you get here. You know, I make sure that I greet them. I make sure that they know, hey, look, I'm your tour guide here. I'm going to do my best to help you out, you know, and make sure you're good. I'll tell you where not to go, tell you what to be careful for and what not to be careful for. Yeah. You know, all of those different things, because all of that stuff is necessary. And that's just a very small fraction of what needs to happen on the larger scale, right?
Yeah. So, Charles, what needs to happen? So, okay, you got 5 people. They want to do something. They want to make an impact. They want to make a difference. What do they do?
What are you good at? That's where I start. What can you do well? And then we're going to look at what everybody can do well. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to because I don't want to hear, you know, if I got 1 million talents, what's the one thing that you do best? Mm-hmm. Right? Let's figure that out. And then let's organize behind that. Now let's get some other people to fill in the gaps. What do we need? Mm-hmm. Right now, let's start building that. Okay, now how can we start to put some money together? How can we start to build economically? How can we start to buy something? How can we start to have some real major impact economically? How can we do that? Who's going to be in charge of making sure that when something happens, we know who to get to and how to get there? Who's going to be in charge of making sure if an emergency happens, we know who to send? You know, we'll just start putting together the platform one by one, using your personal skill sets, right? And then growing from there. I'm not interested in what you're not so good at. What I'm interested in is what you're great at. Yeah. And then we take the greatest of all those things and let's all build. If you're great in writing, okay, good. Well, guess what? We need some people to send out pamphlets. We need people to create some newsletters. We need some people to tell the truth. We need a writer. If you're great at math, hey, guess what? I'm going to trust you to do the accounting for this business, and you're going to do it right. You know, we have somebody that knows how to go out and survey land. Okay, well, great. We're trying to buy this land. Hey, if that's you, Constance, what do you think about this land? Is it the right land? Is it the wrong land? Yeah. You know, if we got somebody that's a soldier that knows how to fight, hey, put together us a tactical plan. We need that, right? What do we do in case of emergency? Let's stop going into these white neighborhoods and buying up these white houses and saying, hey, we want to be a part of their neighborhood. Let's figure out how to have our own neighborhoods where everybody around you looks like you. So when they come into your block,
Mm,
It's a problem,
right.
right? You start
Yeah.
building like that, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to do that, right? We can start doing all of that now.
I think to that point is and Dr. Boyce always pushes it, always talks to this brother. Powernomics. I
Yeah,
think everybody that's under the sound of our voice needs to read the book Powernomics. If you can't, if because it's a big book, if you can't
yeah,
sit down and read it, watch a YouTube, watch it. Get the Cliff Notes. I don't know if there's a Powernomics for Dummies. Get the Reader's Digest version. But we really need to understand the basic principles of how to build unity in our community, and
you're right.
Powernomics is the way. So, say there's 4 or 5 people. You got 4 or 5 people. You don't know what to do. Get that book, Powernomics. He gives you step by step on what to do. So now you get 3 or 4 of your friends and you start, and now you are powerful. You're a powerhouse. You don't need a whole lot of people. You don't need 20, 30 people. You need just a few people that can make an impact. But now you gotta have a community of other people, and
Yeah,
then you have these little sects. That's what the Black Panthers did. So they had one, and then they opened up, Chicago, and then they had St. Louis, and they had Oakland, and they had LA. They have all, and it started with a very small group of individuals that came together, that understood, highly intellectual people that knew laws, that knew what their rights were, and they came together and did it. The thing about it is, what we have to do, guys, is we have to figure out how to allow a leader to lead, right? Allow the people to operate. I'll say that, because Black people don't like, ain't nobody lead me. I don't want to be like that. But we have to allow people to operate in their strengths. And everybody, just like you said, Charles, needs to figure out what they're good in and fall in line and do what you're supposed to do.
yeah.
But we need to understand, look, economics is power. Money be over black and white. Green trumps all day. You take the money away. The reason why the Mississippi
Boycotts.
bus boycott was so successful is because they boycotted the bus system and they took away that money.
Yeah.
The reason why these things, it wasn't the marching, it wasn't the speeches, it was come on, y'all. So
even when you talk about the whole, I know we don't like to talk about it the way we should, but the reality is part of the reason why not Malcolm X, but Martin Luther King was killed, because he shifted his conversation from Black Power to then starting to talk about Vietnam, which was impacting their dollar. So those are the realities.
Yeah. And that's what we have to look at. So what can we look at? And you don't need a whole lot of money to pull together. So we have to think B1, just that. That's the on code I think that we should be. I think that's the on code that we're talking about. So
and you can't go into it thinking that you're going to get full. Everybody's going to eat, right? But nobody's going to get full. Everybody's going to eat, but nobody's going to get full. And that's the real thing. Like, you got to go into it with that mindset. Like, everybody's going to eat. We all going to eat around this camp. Mm-hmm. We may not get full, but we ain't going to starve either. And we damn sure going to die. Those are the things that we're focused on. And if we get that together, we're good.
Man, everybody want to be full, but it's, I don't even blame us. I blame rugged, Eurocentric capitalism for that. Because everybody wants that. Right. And money is what makes the world go round. But we don't have to be to a point where it's greed, because capitalism has turned into greed. And so we don't have to adopt that rugged Eurocentric capitalistic mindset, especially if we're working together, and all the members of one body are important. My favorite African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, we got to go together. And so figuring that out. So on a micro scale, what we can do on a micro level in terms of uniting, getting together, figuring that piece out. And then you take that, man, what they had back in the 60s and the 70s with the Black Panther, they can't touch what we got, the technology that we got right now.
Man. The
stuff that you just said that these other organizations are doing, we ain't doing the same thing. That's the on code that we need to be talking about.
Yeah.
Is using technology to push forward the agenda. And the agenda is not about, being anti anybody else, because I don't support being anti anybody else. I'm talking about what we can do to build our community. And we can use technology for that, bro.
Yeah. And then I bet you, a lot of the stuff that we see happening, it stops,
Oh, God.
Because I liken it to that situation that happened with the little boy that was he was walking the street, and the military guy came up to him talking about, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. You don't live here. And then the next day, I forget where it was. I think it was South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
The next day, you had a whole bunch of Black people at your front door. You don't want that smoke.
You don't
You
want
know,
that
if you know
photo.
that you have that kind of power everywhere you go, you think
Come
they're
on.
gonna act up and silly? That's
No.
not happening because
Yeah.
all that stuff that you're trying to do in the dark, you're not going to be able to do it.
Mhm.
And that's where the narrative shifts.
Right.
I guarantee you, every time he goes outside of his door, he's afraid. I
Mhm.
guarantee it. And every time he sees a black person now, he's afraid on a whole nother level because you done did something that you shouldn't have done.
Mhm.
Right? And that's how we pull that power card. We don't have
Mhm.
to pull it individually. And you
Right.
got to think, man, here's a reality, right? We have enough black millionaires and billionaires now that can teach us as a community how to make this thing work.
Right.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
imagine if we really took ownership and leadership of our networks, of the information that's going out. Imagine if we directed the content the way it should be directed, right?
Mhm.
Imagine if we're pushing these positive narratives out. Imagine if we're telling positive stories. And I know because everybody's tired of seeing, the slave narrative and everything else, but there's so many other narratives. I want to tell you, half of the people that I know that went to black colleges like me went there because of a different world, right? So what happened to those kind of shows, right? Like all the things that we need to be able to talk about and do and present to our youth and present to our communities, like where's all of that at? I
Yeah.
get the whole drama and the real housewives of this and love and hip hop that, but that's not providing any substance or any real content to us. And it's not doing anything. It doesn't have any measurable deliverables,
Yeah.
right? It's not doing anything but entertaining you. It's
Yeah.
not building anything. It's not showing you anything that's positive or something that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Right. I imagine when I went to A&T and I went to Shaw, I imagined that my experience before I even got there, I already knew what my experience was going to be because I saw it. Right.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
yeah, which character am I going to be from a different world? you know, so
You gonna be Dwayne Wayne, or you gonna be what's up?
right. And so that was my expectation.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that we need to do and we need to see, and we need to be able to change the narrative. We need to stop allowing these Harvey Weinsteins and everybody else to dictate how we're portrayed in these movies.
Right.
And start building our own narratives out and start telling our own stories the way we want to tell them and start telling our kids of a positive future the way that we want to show them. You got all these different currencies that are out now. You got cryptocurrency, you got foreign exchange markets, you got all of this knowledge that's pouring out. We need to get vested in those things. We need to get vested in real estate for real. Can't nobody take nothing from you like they used to back in the day. There's too many of us, right? So it can't happen that way anymore. So we got to start doing all of the things to make our communities better.
I'm trying to tell you, if we use, it's like the internet is like our brain. If we only use a small percentage of our brain.
Yeah.
But if we use a little bit more of our brain, how dope we would be. Everything is out there, you guys, and that's what I want. That's my message to the masses. Like, you have everything you need. Michael V. Roberts said we have more technology in the palm of our hands than we had when they put the man on the moon. You can get access to everything. There's no reason why we should still be ignorant. There's no reason why we should still not be unified. There's no reason why we don't have access to anything because we have it all right here. The device that you're on right now, you can get access to everything, y'all. So the solution is there.
Yeah.
The solution, you just got to go find it.
And it's free game. If you go back a few days ago and watch the video that Black Mama Tees did, she gave you the whole game.
The whole man.
I'm talking about. And I consider myself to be somewhat intelligent. I had no idea what a family office was. I went and put that thing. Now that's my goal.
You was like,
yeah, I was like, oh,
I'm not talking about legacy, my dude. I'm talking about dynasty. What?
Yeah, I'm like, oh snap! This is on a whole new level. She taught you
there.
So there's opportunities for you to get the information, for us to get the information. And what I love about the people that I've encountered, or that I've just even through just us doing the show, and you talking to your friends, what I love is that none of them were negligent with their sharing, right? Yeah. Like they will all give you the game. They're like, nah, it's yours. You can have it. And they'll tell you if like I'm not going to spend some one-on-one time with you, but I give you all the vocabulary you need to go and research it.
Right? And there it is right there on a platter. And you know the thing, and I see a lot of people in the feed, and I understand you guys' passions, brothers and sisters, and there's thousands and thousands of people on here. I understand your passion. I really do. But we got to get out of that mindset. Like, it's all about white men. It's all about all that really, we already know what it is. We got to stop talking that shit, and we got to start talking about what we can do, how the positive things that we can do to build our community. Yes. They tore us up. Yes. They effed us. Yes. All of that. Yes. And we know it. They know it. We know it. And everybody around the world knows it. We know it. Now what? Now let's talk about, let's change that conversation, y'all, and stop talking about them. Because Dr. George Fraser said something that was so pointed. He said, he said, we spend so much time talking about white people, thinking about white people, and white people ain't thinking about you. You know who white people are thinking about? Themselves, their communities, what they're doing the next day, all that stuff. They thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
We thinking about them. Yeah. We need to start thinking about us. How do we build our community and stop worrying about everything that they've done? Yes, we need reparations. We deserve reparations. But are we going to wait on the reparations before we take action? No. Yes, we need capital to do things, but with the power of the internet and the power of networking and access and proximity, we can get so much done. Yeah. But we got to start thinking about building rather than thinking about what they doing. Yes, God damn it, they doing it.
Yeah.
So what? They're going to continue to do it.
Exactly. They're not going to stop. So we're sitting up here trying to, focus on the problem way too much rather than focusing on the solution. How do we get them to stop?
Yeah.
How do we get them to change? And we're not talking about changing them, but how do we ensure that they change?
Yeah.
How do we protect ourselves so these type of things don't happen anymore? You know, what can we implement to redirect funds and to defund police? Like, how do we make all of these things happen? And then how do we all, quote unquote, I'm gonna keep saying quote unquote, get on code to make these shifts? We got to stop talking. It's like the person that you hate that talks about everybody else, and that person that they're talking about, they don't even know that you're talking about them. One, right? They're building, and you wasting time. Right? You wasting a whole lot of time talking about something that you can't change.
You can't change. You can't, like I said, nothing. So what do you think about this? Because people often talk about, and I hear like a lot of us have adopted it. We just need to vote. And if we vote, everything is going to be better.
I think voting has its place, but it's not the only solution, right? Because what is voting dictated by? Voting is dictated by dollars. It's the people that control the money that, in all honesty, get the votes. If you want to turn a senator one way, left or right, what do? You support his narratives. You put money behind the things that he wants to do. Mm-hmm. I think it's all a financial play. I mean, if we're going to be completely honest about it, voting does have its place. I'm not telling people not to vote, but what I am saying is that if you're waiting on the vote to change anything, you're sadly mistaken. Yeah. That's not going to happen, right? Because we voted Biden in office by and large, and we thought, getting Trump out of office was going to change things, and we still got people dying on our watch. You know what I mean? And he's not saying a whole lot about it, which I'm pissed off about, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But, that's my reality. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Both has its place, but that's it. But the CEO of DNP said, what place? Well, here's the truth, right? You want to change laws, that's the way you do it. You can't change a law any other way, right? Mm-hmm. So the way you do that is by voting, and you not only vote for your presidents, but you vote for your local elected officials, and you put the people in office that you want to put in office. Mm-hmm. Give you a perfect example. If we had 1,000 Black people voting for this one particular mayor that we have in place that we want to do a particular thing, guess what? We all go out there and vote, and our vote is higher than theirs. When it comes back to us asking for stuff, then he has to listen, right? Because these are the votes that put you into place. So we're backing you, not for the sake of backing you. We're backing you because we want you to do something. And if you don't, we'll vote your tail out and we'll put somebody else in that will. Mm-hmm. That's how voting works, and that's how it changes the narrative. So we can't dismiss the vote. Mm-hmm. We can't dismiss it, but it's not the end all be all either. Right. It's not, and we can't rely on that to do anything more than what it's going to do, with the exception of change law. And there's the way dynamics happen in these cities. And we talk about it. Let's not even talk about the mayor. Let's talk about a person who typically has the real power, right? Which is your city managers, mm-hmm. right? all of those individuals. Like those are the ones who really carry the big sticks. And those are the ones who you want to have the influence over. So how do you get them? You make sure that the mayor or whoever you're voting for picks the right person, picks the person that has you on the agenda, that has you top of mind. That's how you do it.
But see, that's a lot of people don't know that. So a lot of people will think, okay, I voted in my presidential election, but really understand that the presidential election is not personally affecting you. What's really affecting you is voting, just like Dual said, at a local level. Voting starts at a local level. So when you vote those people in the school boards, when you're voting those people in the county supervisors boards, when you're voting in the mayors, all of those, that's what is going to directly affect you. Okay. Yeah. Then you go up to the state, and then you go to the federal vote. But we really have to get to where the people who are right there in our faces, that could change, our schools, and that could change the things that we do every day. That does. But again, just like you said, Charles, it's not the end all be all. Because we got to take action too. Like people, but that's what I hear just a lot of Black people say, if you won't change, vote. It's way more than voting, y'all. It's much more than voting.
Absolutely. Voting only takes care of one portion of it. That's a very small portion of it. And then there's other parts of it that we still have to deal with. And we can't focus so much on the one part that we neglect all the other parts. What are the economic factors that we're influencing? What are the mentoring factors that we're influencing? How are we dealing with how we're educated? We can change the scope of education, through voting for our Stockton Unified School District, and we can make sure that they implement certain structures. But outside of that, we know that they're only going to go so far. So we're the brothers and the sisters that are going to step in and say, hey, look, let me teach you some financial literacy courses. Let me teach you some real education about history, your history. Let me do some other things to help encourage you to be the best person that you could possibly be. We can't allow other people to do everything for us. We got to start to do it for ourselves. And every single facet, there's multiple things that need to be done. We relying on one here or one there, and it just doesn't work.
That part right there, Charles, that's what I want people to understand, because they think like it has to be all one thing or nothing. We do that a lot too, because I'll hear people say, I ain't voting because I ain't No, you don't only vote, but you get active in other ways. I'm only going to get active. I'm not going, or I'm only going to vote, or listen, we are a multifaceted people. We can walk and chew gum at the same goddamn time, y'all. We can do more than one thing. We can get vocal. We can get on here. We can give information. We can be out in the streets. We could be giving out pamphlets. Don't despise the small places. People are effective in every single place. Wherever you can fit in, get in where you fit in, and make an impact. Make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we have a place in Sacramento that Charles heads up. It's called the Co-op Spot, and it's a center for Black excellence, right? So I bought this building last year, and it's a co-working space, event center. But what we are doing, the agenda that we're pushing forward, and everybody's welcome. So we're not saying that, there's only specific people, but what we're doing is we're building a community of like-minded people that they can come in, that they can see something different, that we can expose them to different things, that we can teach investment strategies, because we do that, like all of these different things where we can show our community how to improve our community. The thing about it is, we as a community have to start showing up for these things. We can provide you all the information in the world, but you got to show up and you got to want it as much as we want to give it. And that's the thing is sometimes we can get lazy. Sometimes we get caught up in everything else except for the right thing. But just on a very small scale, read one book a month, one book every 2 months, but do something to educate yourself. If you only listen to talk radio, if you only listen to sports radio, try to, listen to some blogs, listen to some podcasts, listen to something that's going to stimulate your mind to think differently. I challenge you, at least an hour a day, listen to some type of positive podcast or something online where you're getting fed something, right? Please. The second thing I would say is start to formulate a plan. Okay, now you're writing goals of what exactly you want to do. Okay, so this is what I want to do. This is what I see. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I'm just putting all my plans out there. I want to see X, Y, and Z happen, right? And this is in every aspect of your life, whether it's in business, whether it's personal, whether it's social. I want to see this type of change happen in my community. Okay, so I'm going to write all that stuff down, because you know what? You write the vision and you make it plain. Okay, then you start I know that God will start to put like-minded people in your place if you set the intention. If you are intentional about setting those goals, you'll start to see some things. God, the universe will start to put people in place around you to make that thing happen if you're serious about it. Then you get together and you start to work, and then you're going to see what's called impact. But you have to start with a thought and a plan and an action. Start to educate yourselves. Start to plan, set goals, start to put it out there. Even speak them as your affirmations, and then you start to align with like-minded people.
Yeah.
The impact is real, you guys.
And that's super important, right? Because aligning with the wrong people will mess you up, right? It will mess you up. So you absolutely, and that's something that I it's been a while now, but it's something I've been doing for a while, just, praying and meditating and focusing. I have my things where I want abundance at, and I focus on those things. And every day I get a nugget. And I think the benefit of that is that I'm so open into listening and researching and then doing the work that things come the way that I need them to come. I can research the hell out of something. You know what I mean? I might not know how to do something today, but I'll find out by tomorrow. And I think we all have that same ability. Yeah, you got to shift your mindset. The things that you say you want, and you'll find yourself in those circles. And sometimes I find myself on the outside of the circle, but I'm thankful because I get to listen.
Come on.
Because you don't always got to talk. So sometimes listening, and most often listening is the best medicine.
Come on.
The best medicine, because I promise you the things that I've learned within the last 2 to 3 years have been amazing. And it hasn't been because I've been in places to talk. It's because I've been a fly on the wall just with the ability to listen. And I promise you, I got my little phone. I take my little notepad on my phone, and I'm writing down words.
Yeah.
I'm going back and I'm learning the vocabulary, and then I'm researching more. And then I can tell, okay, is this what I want? Or is this not what I want? And that's how you start to build your thing. I got on this hype about 3 years ago where I do no less than 24 books a year. Either I'm either reading them or I'm listening to them. Every time I take a trip up and back from Stockton to Sacramento, I got an audio book on.
Come on.
That's how, when I take a trip somewhere else, when I'm driving, my kids hate it, but I got my audio book on. Sometimes I put it in my ear because I need to find ways to feed myself.
Yeah.
Right, that I could feed the people.
Yeah.
So I could feed my children. And to speak on that, somebody mentioned it, now is the perfect time to start with building the generations also, right? Give them the knowledge that they need. I appreciate you, Constance, in the sense that your son Warren is doing amazing, right? Kyle is doing amazing. Warren's still in high school, has a complete financial business with a complete financial portfolio. And my 12-year-old son, I'm saying, boy, if you don't get off your tail and do it, because he loves finances, right? So I'm like, and that's what he wants to do. And I was like, hey,
at their own time.
Yeah, but I'm showing him more, and I'm like, hey, you said you wanted to do it. He already doing it. What's your excuse? And he like, yeah, you're right, Dad.
Almost 17.
But it's still, but I think it's important we have to start to give our kids the tools. The reality for all of us is that the generation under us is supposed to be better than us, right? Yeah. I'm supposed to be better than my father. My son is supposed to be better than me. And that's how we make it grow to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And so teaching these kids things outside of just the traditional educational system. YouTube is a whole new world.
Come on.
We didn't have YouTube growing up. So I couldn't learn all the things that I wanted to learn. I had to spend a whole lot of money to get an MBA where I could have got one online for free. So, now is the time. Hey, whatever your kid is interested in, invest yourself into that child's life to a point where they're like, hey, look, and it doesn't matter. I tell my son, you do whatever you want to do. I just want you to be the best at whatever you decide to do.
That's right.
And I'm going to back you 100%. So if you say you want to play basketball, cool. I'm going to be out there every day with you. We're going to work on it. If you say you want to be in finance, cool. You want to be in engineering, cool. I know a whole lot of engineers. I have my 8-year-old son. I got a homeboy that lives out in Alabama. Went to Tuskegee, got his doctorate. My son wants to be a chemist. Put him on a Zoom call with him. They did an experiment together. Do those type of things, man. Utilize your network. Utilize the people around you. When we talk about building this community up, that's how it's done. That's how you work it.
That's what it is. But the thing about it, Charles, and this is what I can't stress enough, you guys, is that you have the power of proximity with what's in your hand, with your devices. You have the power of proximity. So I want you guys to get through your head, because a lot of you guys, y'all advanced. A lot of y'all advanced, and y'all already know. But some people are not as advanced as you, and they need to understand that there are simple things that you could do right now to start making an impact. And when we get on here, we don't want to just talk about everybody and talk about what the problem is, because I don't want to always talk about what the problem is. I don't want to talk about what the white man did. I don't want to talk about what Al Sharpton did. I want to talk about what we can do to effectuate change. What are some steps? And to give you some real solid things that you actually can do to improve your life. So it's not just getting on here and talking about it. It's about being about it. And that's what we need in our community, because it's time out for the rhetoric. It's time out for just to be pontificating ad nauseum about the same old bull all the time. We have to actually start taking action. But the thing is, I know for a fact, a lot of people are like, well, how do I take action? Somebody came into my office today, a good friend of mine. She came in because I'm doing some coaching for her. I own businesses, for those who don't know. So I'm doing some coaching for her. And, it was just some basic, we started off with some really basic things, really, really, really basic, right? Basic things that, a lot of people know. But what I had to understand is there are so many people that don't know. Right. So we got to keep it really, really basic, keep it really, really simple, because I know that there's a lot of us out there that don't know. So we want to give you the tools. Listen, here's some things that you could do today to start making an impact. And if you need a replay, we'll put it in the comments box. But first, set the intention about what it is, what you would like to see. Set some goals. You guys, set the goals. Start doing some research, and then start to network with like-minded individuals. If you don't have anybody in your family, first of all, you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, right? So if you're the smartest person in the room, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And I always say that, like, I'm around Charles all the time. The Negro is smarter than me in a lot of areas. So I got to always have, be around people that sharpens me. Iron sharpens iron. I'm always trying to be around somebody who has knowledge that I don't have. And so surround yourself with people. Get in rooms. Oh my God, there's so many groups on Facebook and chat rooms and stuff on Instagram and on LinkedIn. The resources are out there. You could find somebody or something that's doing what it is that you want to do, and that could help you get there. Utilize resources.
Somebody put in the comments to stop chasing capitalism. I would say build our capitalism.
Come on.
Capitalism is the way of America. If we plan on staying here in America, we have to be able to build finance. So yeah, we need to stop chasing the white dollar. I agree, but we can definitely build our own communities. And start to build that unity there. We got to think about how long the dollar stays in the Black community, and we really hadn't talked about that a whole lot, and how long it stays in other communities, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem, and I agree. Capitalism won't save us. We will save us when we start to deal with ourselves, and that's more of a socialistic type of environment, but it definitely is. It's patterned around some capitalism. Mm-hmm. Because in order to sustain and survive in America, there's some things that we have to do.
You gotta have money, y'all. Listen, we ain't trying to get money just so we can keep money. We're trying to get money so we can help others, so that we don't have to worry about things. That's the part about having money. It's not about just to have things, have nice things. Yeah, I love to have nice things. They're great. But more importantly, it's what I can do to help somebody else get out of that situation, because we have been behind the 8 ball for too long. So we need money. Like, organizations need funding. They need financing. Allow people to do what they need to do within their organizations to be able to build those communities, just keeping them accountable to it. But we need that. So get off capitalism. I'm not saying greed is bad. The idea of capitalism is not bad. Greed is bad. And what they've done is they've taken capitalism and they turned it into greed. That's the bad part. Just like the Bible says, money is not bad. It's the love of money that's bad.
Yeah. And I understand to a point, because, usually what they say with capitalism, it provides a window or a way for having a permanent underclass, stratification. And I get that, right? But we don't have to be that community that's stratified, and we don't have to be that permanent underclass. But the reality is, we keep saying it, is that we can't change what America is and what America wants to be. But we have to be able to change how we deal in America, right? We have to change that part. And so we have to control our own dollar. We have to control our own economics. We have to control the way that money moves and flows within our system. We have to build these systems, and so that people start to come to us more and start, and deal with us from that capacity, and not deal with us from a consumer capacity. That's a large part of it.
We got to turn into investors. And so how do we do that? And it is, we got collective economics is key in order to build our community. There's no way that we're going to be able to build our community without practicing collective economics. Like, if we're not spending with one another, it's not going to happen. Number one. But the other thing is being the investor rather than the consumer. because
Yeah.
we spend so much time. Let's talk about that 1.3 trillion dollars that we have in spending power. We have the same GDP as what somebody say, Russia. Like, we have as much as other countries in our spending power, but we're not bringing it together to build. Just like you said earlier, Charles, we have so many black millionaires and black billionaires, but what are we doing as a collective to try to bring something together? The cool thing about Jews is they come together, they pull their funds together to build their community, to make their community strong. That's why they're one of the most powerful races in the country. I mean, real talk. Like, you could say what you want about them, but they are super powerful because they practice collective economics.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is we got our eye so much on them that we're not doing it ourselves. And so we need to be doing the exact same thing. Let's model what they're doing. Let's not be mad at them for doing it. Let's model what they're doing.
Yeah, we don't have to go join their communities to be accepted. We just got to build our own communities.
That's right. That's right.
Reality.
And figure it out. But the blueprint is all online. You can get all this stuff online. You can figure it out online. And that's what I want y'all to know. Everything is online. I got a TED Talk. It's called Google That Shit. Ways that you can invest to close the wealth gap, because I'm really passionate about closing the wealth gap, because I really believe that we can. But everything, you could GTS everything. You can Google that shit. You can Google anything that you want. Everything is out there. So if you need access to anything, it's on there. You need to figure out, you can figure out how to build a house on Google. Everything is on there. YouTube, Google, everything is on there, guys. Start using it for positive. My kids spend hours on Google looking at YouTube looking at mindless BS, right? And so I had to say, hey, okay, we're gonna change the game up a little bit. We're gonna take 1 hour of all these hours that y'all looking at YouTube and look at something positive, right? And if we could just take 1 hour of our day, and I call it ramping up. You just take 1 hour of your day and you pour into yourself something positive. Man, my God, what can happen on the other side, how it could change your life, how you will be unrecognizable within a matter of weeks, months, or years, because you've done 1 hour pouring into yourself, regardless of what it is, something positive, something that you didn't know before. 1 hour makes a difference.
Yeah.
So, man, this was a great conversation. Oh, shoot. We didn't talk. So, again, guys, listen, it is open season.
Yeah.
It's been open season. This ain't nothing new, guys. Y'all know it. We know it. So, B1, yeah, stay on code. B1, yeah. But what does B1 look like? That means doing business with ourselves. That means building our communities. That means our men and women coming together, being unified and not separate, right? Not divided. That means us actively and intentionally doing things to build. Yeah. That's what that means. Because everything that they do out there is going to happen. Hopefully, I pray to God it doesn't happen in your family, anybody out there, or my family. I pray to God it doesn't. But in the meantime, we could work together to build something really great. So I'm like Arlita, I'm staying encouraged, because I'm looking at the glass as half full and not half empty. Yeah. As long as you look at the glass as half empty, you'll never get anywhere. Never. But if you could see the things that you can do and you can accomplish, man, together, that's why I'm saying, like, I know that, that Forbes article that said in 2053, Black median wealth was going to be at 0. There's no way. I believe in Black people. And I believe that we can pull our resources together. But I also understand that the power of the internet has given us leverage like we've never had before. And so if we utilize our resources, we can come together and we can do anything that we want to do. They can't stop us. Power is within us. We have it. It's right there in the palm of our hands.
Yeah.
What do you think, Charles?
No, I completely agree with that whole statement. I mean, as somebody put in there before that we're such a resilient people, and I agree. But if we're resilient, we're also brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So it means that we can do some things that we haven't even thought to do yet. And we just need to, now's the time to push the trigger on that. Stop waiting for stuff to happen to us for us to have to be resilient. And let's start moving the needle ourselves. Let's start being way more proactive. Let's start building. If we're going to build B1, let's build the code. Let's really build that thing out. Let's use Powernomics. Let's use all of these other factors, and let's really, really build the code so that we can all get on code. And once we do that, I feel like we're going to be a very, 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 very powerful force to have to deal with.
Yeah. I love what Antonio said. Let's prove them wrong, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's prove them wrong. That's all I got to say. Let's prove them wrong. We can do it. I believe in you. and I believe in me, and I believe that we can do it. So before, as we head out, guys, put where you're from in the comments box, because we know we have people from all over, and we want to know where you're hailing from. Just put it in the comments box. We appreciate you. We love you. And remember, we always love for you to talk back to us and talk black to us, because as we said, it's a dialogue and not a monologue. And so your comments, your engagement is so important to the conversation, because it also helps us. We learn things as we're talking to you too. So make sure you're also sharing this information. Make sure that you subscribe to Fly Nubian Queen on both Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to Nobody Works Harder Than Constance Carter. I want you to follow me on Instagram, and I am Constance Carter. And you can follow Charles. Where can they follow you at, Charles?
At CJC Solutions
on Instagram. So if you want to do business, because he's not a businessman, he's a businessman. You can go ahead and do that, but make sure that you continue to continue the conversation. And that's what's important. So we start the conversation. Now have these conversations with your kids. Now have these conversations with your grandkids and your cousins and everybody else, because these are conversations that need to be had in our communities and in our households every single day. So make sure you subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Share this on every page that you can. Share this on every group that you can, because people need to hear what we need to do. Now we got a plan, y'all. Yeah. If y'all remember the plan, put it in the comments box, because we sure enough have a plan. We talked about a plan, things that you could do on a micro level in order to improve the community. So thank you so much. We love you.
Yeah, it's CC, CEO. Want to change your life? Come see me, yo. I'ma teach you how to build up wealth for your family, not just for yourself. I'm a bestseller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a goal builder that can teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst.